If you've watched our other stroke episodes, you already know this truth. Strokes rarely come without a whisper, a sudden weakness, a strange heaviness, a moment when something just feels off. But today's story is about what happens next, when those whispers turn into an emergency. She was 7'2", sitting at her kitchen table, halfway through her morning crossword, when her pen slipped from her hand. She reached to pick it up, but her arm didn't move. Her words began to tangle. Her husband found her minutes later, terrified, frozen, unsure what to do first. 2 minutes. That's all it took to change everything. And yet, what saved her life wasn't luck. It was what he did next. 3 simple actions that anyone can learn. I'm Dr. Howard Tucker, but you can just call me Howard. For over 7 decades, I've watched how the aging brain fights to survive, how quick thinking can mean the difference between paralysis and full recovery. And joining me today is someone who's seen medicine from an even longer lens, a man who's lived through epidemics, wars, and the birth of modern neuroscience. Japan's oldest practicing physician, the remarkable Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara.
Thank you, Howard. That story never gets easier to hear, even after a century in medicine, because this is what most people don't realize. Every second during a stroke, 30,000 brain cells die, but in those same seconds, every right decision gives the brain a fighting chance.
Exactly. The tragedy isn't just the stroke itself, it's the panic that follows. People freeze. They wait. They hope it will pass. But hope without action costs time, and time is the brain's oxygen.
Yes. The body gives us warning signs, but we must know how to respond. What you do in those first 5 minutes determines whether blood returns to the brain or the damage spreads. And the good news? You don't need medical training. You just need to stay calm, act fast, and understand what's really happening inside.
That's exactly what this episode is about. 3 things, proven by research from Tokyo University, Harvard Medical, and the NIH, that can double survival rates even before help arrives.
And we'll show you how to recognize a stroke, how to react, and how to reposition the body to protect the brain while you wait for help. So stay with us till the end, because the next few minutes could be the most important lesson you'll ever hear, for yourself or someone you love.
When a stroke begins, every second feels ordinary, until it's not. One moment, you're reaching for a glass of water. The next, your body forgets how. Most people don't realize what's happening, because pain isn't the signal, silence is. The brain goes quiet, and the body follows.
That's true. A stroke doesn't always shout. It whispers through confusion, drooping, or a sudden stumble. Inside the skull, a blood vessel has either burst or clogged, cutting oxygen to part of the brain. Within minutes, neurons start shutting down like lights in a city losing power. The faster you restore blood flow, the more lights you save.
That's what makes those first 5 minutes sacred. This isn't about panic, it's about recognition. The brain has its own language for distress. If one side of the face droops, if the words come out tangled, or if one arm feels heavier, that's the brain asking for help. Don't wait. Act.
In Japan, we teach that hesitation costs more lives than mistakes. The first response must be decisive. Call emergency services immediately, yes, but also protect the person's airway, loosen anything tight around the neck, and keep them lying on their side if they're drooling or nauseated. This position keeps the airway clear and blood flowing evenly.
It's incredible how simple positioning can change everything. When the head is slightly raised about 30 degrees, it reduces pressure in the skull and helps blood circulate to the brain. That one move can buy precious seconds before paramedics arrive.
Exactly. And never ever give them food, water, or medicine during those moments. The muscles that control swallowing may already be paralyzed, and even a sip can enter the lungs. That's how minor strokes turn deadly.
So the first step is awareness. The second is reaction. Call, position, protect. But I know what you're about to say, doctor. There's something even more powerful than reaction.
Yes. Preparation. Training the body and mind to recognize the earliest signals before they even escalate. Studies from the University of Tokyo show that seniors who practice stroke response drills twice a year were twice as likely to respond correctly when a real event happened. It becomes muscle memory, not just for the body, but for the brain itself.
That's fascinating because it means stroke prevention isn't only about medication. It's about rehearsal, like teaching your brain an escape plan, and that's what we'll cover next. How to train your senses and reflexes so that when those first 5 minutes arrive, you don't lose a single one of them. What always amazes me is that the brain doesn't just react to danger, it can be trained to predict it. And when you've lived through as many patients as we have, you start to see patterns. Before a major stroke, the body often gives subtle warnings: blurred vision, sudden dizziness, a strange numbness that fades within minutes. They seem harmless, but they're not.
Yes, those are what we call transient ischemic attacks or mini strokes. They are the body's rehearsal for something much bigger. And here's the critical part. The brain remembers them. If you pay attention, you can learn its language before disaster strikes. In Japan, we teach our seniors a form of daily self-check that takes less than a minute, but rewires awareness.
That's something I've started recommending too. A kind of morning routine for your nervous system. Look in the mirror, smile, lift both arms, and speak a simple sentence like, "Today is a beautiful day." If one side of your face doesn't move the same, if your voice wavers, or your arm feels weaker, that's your cue to act immediately.
Exactly. It sounds simple, but repetition creates vigilance. Over time, your brain becomes your own watchdog. It recognizes small misfires in coordination or balance and flags them faster than any test. And when people do this daily, they don't just reduce risk, they gain confidence. They stop fearing every sensation and start understanding what's normal for their body.
That's such an important point, because fear freezes people, but familiarity frees them. When you know the signs, you act with calm precision instead of panic. And studies from the Mayo Clinic show that seniors who can identify early neurological changes on their own are 60% more likely to receive treatment within the golden hour.
Awareness truly is medicine. It lowers anxiety, sharpens the senses, and creates faster recovery even after minor strokes. The brain loves repetition. Every smile test, every sentence spoken, every arm raise strengthens neural mapping and keeps those pathways alive. It's like maintenance for your mind.
And that's the hidden message of this episode. You don't need fear to survive. You need familiarity. When you make awareness a habit, the brain doesn't panic. It performs. And next, we're going to talk about how to support that performance. The physical side, how simple adjustments in breathing and blood flow can actually protect the brain before and after a stroke. We've talked about awareness, but there's another layer to protection that most people overlook: circulation. Stroke is, at its core, a crisis of blood flow. And yet, the way we breathe, sit, or even think during the day determines how efficiently that blood reaches the brain.
Exactly. When you breathe shallowly or hold tension in your neck and shoulders, you're unknowingly restricting oxygen delivery to the most vital organ you have. That's why I always teach what I call the 2-minute flow reset. It's simple, but it can change the health of your vessels and your brain's resilience dramatically.
I remember you showed me that years ago, and it stayed with me ever since. It starts with posture, doesn't it? Because many seniors sit with the head forward, collapsing the neck arteries. That reduces flow before they even realize it.
Correct. So the first step is awareness of position. Sit tall, shoulders relaxed, chin gently pulled back as if you're holding an orange under it. Then, take one slow inhale through the nose for 4 seconds, expanding not the chest, but the belly. Hold for 2 seconds, and then exhale through the mouth for 6 seconds. This rhythm mimics the body's natural calm state, improving oxygen exchange.
It's amazing that something that simple can affect brain health. I've seen patients who practice this for just 5 minutes a day report fewer dizzy spells and steadier balance within a week. And studies from Kyoto University confirm it. Rhythmic breathing lowers blood pressure and increases cerebral perfusion, meaning the brain literally receives more nourishment.
That's right, and the science is beautiful. Each breath trains blood vessels to expand and contract smoothly. That flexibility is what prevents clots and ruptures. It's like keeping your plumbing young. And when stress hits, which it always does, your body already knows how to stabilize instead of spiking pressure.
That's crucial, especially for those with hypertension or diabetes, because when panic sets in during a stroke, heart rate surges and blood pressure skyrockets, worsening the bleed. But someone who's practiced this breathing pattern can ground themselves quickly, keeping oxygen levels steady until help arrives.
It's the quiet skill that saves lives. And it doesn't just prevent strokes, but it helps recovery too. Better circulation means faster healing of damaged neurons, better focus, and clearer memory afterward.
It's almost poetic. The same breath that sustains life also safeguards it. The one physical habit that complements this perfectly. A gentle movement that boosts blood flow and protects your brain long before an emergency ever begins. Breathing sets the rhythm, but movement carries it through the body. And that brings us to what I think is one of the most overlooked forms of stroke prevention: gentle daily motion. Not exercise for vanity, but circulation in motion.
Exactly. The brain depends on the legs more than most people realize. The muscles of the calves are sometimes called the body's second heart. Every time they contract, they push blood back toward the chest and brain. When those muscles weaken or go idle, blood stagnates, pressure builds, and small clots have more time to form.
I remember you teaching this decades ago in your clinics. The calf pumping habit. It's almost meditative. Seniors who can't walk far can still do it right from a chair, correct?
Yes. Sit with both feet flat on the floor. Slowly lift your heels while keeping the toes grounded. Then lower them and lift your toes while the heels rest. That simple rocking motion, done for just 2 or 3 minutes, reawakens the pump. It sends a wave of oxygen-rich blood upward, flushing the veins and energizing the brain.
It sounds too easy to make a difference, yet the results speak for themselves. A 2023 study from Osaka University found that seniors who performed seated heel-toe pumps twice daily improved blood flow to the brain by more than 20% in 3 weeks. That's without medication, without side effects, just rhythm.
And rhythm is everything. When you pair that movement with the slow breathing we discussed, you create a synchronized system. Inhale as the heels lift, exhale as the toes rise. The nervous system interprets that pattern as safety. Blood vessels relax, stress hormones drop, and the heart works more efficiently.
Which means this isn't just exercise, it's therapy. It retrains the connection between body and brain that aging sometimes disconnects. And unlike heavy workouts, it's safe for nearly everyone, even those recovering from mild strokes or dealing with limited mobility.
Precisely. We tell patients, never underestimate small movement. The body listens. When circulation improves, cognition follows. Energy returns, sleep deepens, and the very systems that once seemed fragile begin to cooperate again.
I love that. The body listens. Because that's really what this entire conversation has been about. Listening to your body before it cries out. Training it to respond instead of react. And in our next section, Gaishin, we'll take that one step further. How mindset and calm thinking in the middle of crisis can decide whether the brain breaks or begins to heal. When a crisis hits, it's not always the strongest body that survives, it's the calmest mind. And in every emergency I've seen, whether it's a fall, a heart attack, or a stroke, one thing determines the outcome more than anything else: clarity under pressure.
That's absolutely true. The brain listens to emotion before logic. When panic rises, blood pressure spikes, and that surge alone can worsen a stroke. But when calm takes over, the heart stabilizes, oxygen flows more evenly, and decision-making becomes sharper. It's physiology, not philosophy.
I once had a patient, mid-70s, who recognized her own stroke symptoms alone at home. She couldn't move her right arm, but she remembered what we had practiced. She laid on her side, lifted her chin slightly to keep her airway open, and called emergency services using voice command. When help arrived, her speech was slurred.
I am okay. I am breathing fine. Everything is going to be all right.
But she was conscious, breathing, and stable. That calmness brought her recovery.
Beautiful example. And that's the power of mental rehearsal. You don't need courage in the moment if you've already practiced it in your mind. In Japan, we teach visualization drills. Close your eyes and imagine what you'd do if your hands stopped moving or your words came out strange. You picture yourself acting, not freezing. It programs the nervous system to respond automatically.
It's fascinating how the same tools we use for athletes or pilots, visualization, breath, posture, can save lives in medicine too. Seniors often think calmness is something you either have or you don't, but science says otherwise. The prefrontal cortex, which manages focus and reasoning, strengthens every time you practice calm breathing under mild stress.
Yes. Even 5 minutes a day of what we call emergency calm practice can lower cortisol and heart rate variability. That means when real danger comes, your body doesn't misfire. It remembers You become the anchor in the storm rather than the leaf caught in it.
That's such a powerful way to put it. Be the anchor. Because stroke isn't always avoidable, but chaos is. When the mind leads, the body follows. Calm isn't the absence of fear. It's fear in control.
Exactly. And this calm doesn't just protect you during a stroke, it aids recovery after. Patients who stay emotionally grounded heal faster, sleep better, and regain function sooner. The body heals in safety, not in fear.
We've covered a lot today. Awareness, action, breath, movement, and mindset. But if there's one thing I want every listener to remember, it's this. Survival isn't luck. It's readiness. Those first 5 minutes after a stroke aren't just a countdown. They're an invitation, a moment where the body asks, will you listen?
Exactly. And when you've trained your mind and body through small daily habits, you don't have to think, you simply act. The smile test, the breathing rhythm, the heel-toe pump. These aren't exercises. They're rehearsals for life. The more you practice, the faster your body responds when it matters most.
What's remarkable is how simple it really is. No machines, no complicated routines, just awareness, posture, and calm. Studies from Harvard and the University of Tokyo show that people who can recognize a stroke in themselves or a loved one within 3 minutes are twice as likely to walk again within 3 months. That's not chance. That's clarity.
And clarity comes from compassion. When you care for the body daily, it begins to trust you again. The heart slows, the nerves steady, the fear softens. Healing isn't about fighting age. It's about partnership between your habits and your health.
I love that. Partnership. Because at our age, we don't need to move faster. We need to move smarter. And these small, consistent habits, breathing deeper, sitting taller, staying aware, they're not just preventing disease. They're teaching the brain to stay alive in every sense of the word.
Yes, age isn't the enemy, inactivity is, silence is. When the body stops communicating, problems hide. But when you keep the dialogue open, through breath, movement, and attention, you keep life flowing.
That's beautifully said, Doctor. And to everyone listening, don't let this message end here. Practice it. Teach it. Someone you love could need it tomorrow. Keep this episode saved, replay it, and share it with your family. Every household should know these 3 actions by heart.
Knowledge is power, but practice is protection.
And that's the legacy we want to leave behind. Not fear, but preparedness. Soft piano fades under their voices. Gentle heartbeat returns for the final seconds. I'm Dr. Howard Tucker.
And I'm Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara. Stay aware, stay steady, and remember, your calm can save a life.